Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. You are tuning in with Mandy-Lynn at Local 107.3 CFMH, your favorite only community radio station here in St. Awesome, New Brunswick. I hope everybody's having a fabulous week. The weather's been cooperating. The temperatures are rising. It's been great outside, so I hope that everyone's doing very, very well. I want to say thanks so much to last week's guest, Oliver Graves, America's Got Talent finalist, season 14. Thank you so much, Oliver, for coming in and talking about what you've been up to. If you want to book Oliver Graves, then you can go to oliver.graves@gmail.com. I want to say thank you also to Ryan Niemiller from AGT in talking about what he's been up to since season 13, being the third place finalist, and how him and Cody Lee have been getting along and talking, and also about how he's been fangirling over meeting his celebrity wrestling buddy. Make sure you tune into that. You're definitely not going to want to miss it. Upcoming guests, we're very, very excited. We have a full list of folks coming up in the future. So make sure you tune in Fridays at 1 o'clock. We'll be joined next week by Stephen Page. You might have heard him. We'll be talking about his tribute to Ryan Reynolds, Canada Loves You Back, when Ryan Reynolds received the Canada Governors General Award. Really, really exciting. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being a great representation to Canada. Thank you, Stephen, for writing and producing and performing such a beautiful, beautiful piece that I think we've racked up close to 4 million views by now. And also, you are now known as not just the guy with the $1 million, you are known as the guy that made Ryan Reynolds cry, but in a good way, in a good, wholesome Canadian way. So look forward to talking to you soon about that, Stephen Page. I'm so excited about today's guest. He's been one of my friends since the very beginning of radio time. He is a terrific ambassador for Canada. He's amazing in just anything that he puts his hands in. Give it up for the amazing, the awesome James Mullinger. Hi, James.
Hi, Mandy. It's so nice to see you. I love your sweater.
Thank you so much. Thanks for dropping by via Zoom.
Oh, this is a dream. This is a dream. We get to do an interview and see each other. This is beautiful. You're the best, Mandy. I love you.
And we have our drinks.
We do indeed. Look at this. Look at it. It's not it's not vodka for once. Boring. Lockdown's boring. Drinking water.
James, thank you so much. What have you been up to? Let's start with that.
Recently, managing lockdown at home, obviously with like everyone, the kids are homeschooling, and by homeschooling I mean, fighting and playing Fortnite and Roblox, but we're doing our best with it.
And who's playing Roblox? Is that Pam? Pam doing the fighting?
Pam's playing Roblox. Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to get her to do some magazine work. It's but Roblox it is. But I mean, things are good, and we're busy. I've been doing lots of virtual gigs, obviously, over the last couple of years. But I mean, one of the things that occupies your time in lockdown is obviously rescheduling everything that you've had to cancel during the lockdown. So it's I mean, we've all got used to this and we're all in the same boat, but it's that weird thing of you've still got all the other work that you were supposed to be doing that time, but suddenly that all gets shunted because you then got to navigate rescheduling everything. So it's what it is, but it keeps me busy. So which at least busy. I've always liked being busy, as you know, so can't complain.
We were actually talking about that, Nikki, who I know is listening in, is we had these plans. We had these great plans of getting up super early, going to watch the sunrise and just being adults. And we decided not to because we were too lazy that specific day. But then we go on Instagram and you've taken like the dog for 10 walks. You've had the kids at the park. We felt so lazy. And it was only like 3 hours of the day. And you did like 20 things. And you know what we did? We put pants on.
That was New Year's Day, right? That's so funny. I think any day that traditionally I would have been hungover, I like to show off a bit. So like, I had like a sober Christmas day and I had a sober New Year's Eve. So I'm kind of showing off the next morning. How much can I do? So I'm like 6 a.m. waking up the kids, going for a walk. It's any time I'm not hungover, I'm very smug about it.
Absolutely. We definitely enjoyed that thoroughly. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, it's been a bit, I think last time you were on the show, I think maybe 7, 8 months ago, we were talking about your new family at the post office, how you
Yes.
spent half of your time there. And did you have
Corey and
anything else?
John. Corey and John at the Rosso Post Office, big shout out. Love you guys. And I will just say this. Again, and Darlene and Holly at the post office in St. John, right? Absolute legends. And I mean, like all kind of New Brunswick entrepreneurs and people in New Brunswick customer service, they bring joy to individuals. And I think this is the thing. When I first moved to them, people would say to me, "There's not really a comedy scene here," and it took me a few years to figure out why. And I think the main reason is that here in New Brunswick, traditionally everyone has looked out for each other in non-traditional ways. So as a result, in England, where you might go to the same post office or the same post office HQ 100 times, you would never get to know people's names. You would barely speak. People would barely grunt at each other. And yet here, the people that boost us up day to day are people working in customer service, people in restaurants and shops and car washes and gas stations. They're the people that cheer us up with their kind demeanor. And so Corey and John at the Rosso Post Office, I can be having a terrible day and they will cheer me up. Darlene and Holly at the St. John Canada Post HQ, whenever I drop off packages there, which is often we brought all our kind of mail out stuff for the magazine. It used to be done by a sorting body organized by the printer. Now we do it all ourselves. So we are taking tens of thousands of envelopes there. And I turn up and it's raining and I'm tired and I've stuffed 10,000 envelopes and I'm having a stressful day and all my gigs are being cancelled and the kids are bugging me. And then Darlene and Holly bring joy to my life. So yes, sorry, that was a very, very long tangent. But and again, you are a shining example of this, Mandy. Someone that just every room you walk into, you brighten up and make people feel great. So that's what I've always loved about here. But sorry, what was the question?
Thank you so much for that. And I don't think I've given you a proper introduction, James. There's so much that you do that I think the list of what you didn't do would be easier to say, but you came talk about, actually, let's start from the beginning for the few folks out there that might not know your history. But I know that when we'll get into how your magazine, we'll get into how you're an author now of Brit Happens. We'll get into some of your interviews on the Bell Network with your new trailer with the season 2 for Atlantic Edition. But let's go to the beginning for a quick minute. So you arrived in Canada, and what was your job and what was your plan?
Good question. So it was February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2014. Now looking back, it does seem weird. And at the time, I thought it was weird that people thought it was weird. But now, when I look back and I think about the fact that Pam particularly had a very good job, that she'd worked very hard to get to that place in the UK, in London. And we've got a 2-year-old, a newborn, and again, I mean, things were stressful there and busy, but they were also good. Like we had a solid network of friends, family. I'd spent 10 years getting myself to a point where I could basically get paid to do stand up and tour on my own. We'd built all of this up, and then suddenly we decided to leave it behind, move to Greater St. John, and start over. And I mean, I guess now looking back, it does seem like, how did I mean when I say it was weird, I guess what I mean is we can't quite figure out how we found the kind of, I don't know if strength's the right word, but the drive to do such a dramatic and drastic thing, which also could have been disastrous. I mean, let's face it, no one was saying to us, this is a great idea. I mean, and so it's quite a difficult thing anyway. They say the most stressful thing in life is moving house, changing jobs, having a baby. We were doing all three and factoring in moving countries. And we weren't coming here with jobs waiting for us. And again, I mean, the plan was that Pam was going to still do consulting work for magazines back in the UK and across Europe. I hoped to continue doing some magazine writing, but basically wanted to continue doing stand up here. Everyone from Canadian comedians in the UK through to every Canadian comedian here said that this is a terrible idea. So again, I don't know quite how we thought, whether it was stupidity or arrogance or whatever it was. I guess it goes to show the level of desperation. Well, not desperation is not the right word. How keen we were to spend time with our kids. And I know how much you love your beautiful boys and how important it is to you. That we all value every second with our kids. And I guess that's what it boils down to. Is we did not. We knew if we stayed in London, we would never see our kids grow up. Like that was just. So I think that's was the thing. So when we got here. Uh, Everything that happened was a pleasant surprise. So being able to do gigs and get paid for it when I got here, that was a pleasant surprise. 3 years later, we started the magazine basically because we couldn't understand why such a thing didn't exist here. So everything that's happened has been a pleasant surprise. None of it was part of a big master plan. The only master plan at play was, live in a beautiful place, an affordable place, certainly compared to London, and be with each other and be around friendly people. That was the one thing I did know about this place, but I didn't know quite how friendly because I hadn't met you yet, Mandy. And then that sealed the deal for me. I think it was 2016 we first met in a church in the north end
Rightfully
of
so.
St. John. We did with Wayne Hansen and Sar Hassan. What a beautiful room of love that is. If I could choose three people to be on a desert island with, it would be Ansar Hassan, Mandy-Lynn and Wayne Hansen. So that is absolutely a dream. So that was how we met. And I believe I'd met Wayne before at that point. Yes, I had. Anyway,
And
and
Ansar, you guys met because I think that Ansar tells the story of, or you tell the story of, how did that go? He wanted to try comedy and you wanted to try surgery. How does that go?
that's it. Yeah, he came up. Yeah, we met at a party, and then he said, "My dream, my entire life has been to try stand-up comedy." And I said, "That's funny. My dream, my entire life has been to try heart surgery. So, maybe we can work on a little job swap." I'm sure they both involve using your hands a lot. In my case, it doesn't need to be a steadier hand in comedy. Um, they both involve pretending to be very calm under moments of huge pressure, and there's always the possibility someone might die. It's exactly like stand-up comedy.
And what I like the most is I like the heckling story. So you are always the first person to throw a heckling story up or talk about one. What makes you enjoy them so much and why?
Well, I mean, about me being heckled on stage, like the bad gigs.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh,
you enjoy those.
yeah, I do. I mean, I guess I've always been a sucker for a good story, and I guess by that I mean because I knew from a very young age that I desperately wanted to be a comedian, and having read enough books about comedians, I kind of knew that. And again, this is interesting because I guess this is in many ways it's the kind of when you boil down every single self-help book ever, there's essentially two key components. One is, don't constantly be looking forward to something. Not live for the moment in a irresponsible way, but it's like enjoy the journey, not the destination. And then the other
Sure.
thing that is so key to most self-help books is this idea that, what was the question again? oh yes, I know. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the other thing with self-help books is the idea of how you handle moments of adversity, right? And I mean,
Yes, with heckler. Yeah, with because
uh, uh,
heckling, it's
well,
telling a
well,
story.
well, that's it. And in life, how you cope with moments of adversity define or will dictate how happy you are. So similarly, when you are starting out in the performing arts, you are aware of the fact that you don't there's a cliche that you learn more from a bad gig than you do from a good gig. So every single time I would experience a really, really bad gig, getting booed off, getting, and feeling crushed and destroyed, I would of course feel those emotions of being crushed, destroyed emotionally, but I was
Sure.
also aware that that was what I needed to get better. And so every single time something happened from, I mean, nightly when I was starting out, get booed off stage, then miss the bus to the station, get to the train station. I've missed the last train home. I'd have to sleep on the stage. This happened so often. I would sleep on train platforms. It happened so often I would actually carry a pillow in my bag to gigs because I knew I might end up sleeping on the bench on a train platform. And even though it was obviously cold and uncomfortable and in some cases very wet, there was always
Sounds like my love life.
cold, uncomfortable, and very wet. There's the name for your autobiography right there. There was always this feeling of like, this is what it takes. This is what it takes. Every shit thing that happens, I apologize for language, but every bad thing that happens is taking me towards the end destination, the goal that is.
But how do you see the end? So when you're going through that alone, getting booed off once or twice is enough for people to just quit or be so down in their confidence. But if you're sleeping at a train station after having a tough night, why do it again?
True. But for the love of the few moments, the few times that it had gone well, like, and that first time that you do a gig, when sometimes it's your first if you're lucky, and sometimes it's second, sometimes it's your third, but when you get those big laughs, or indeed any laugh, that feeling it gives you, the feeling of looking out into a room full of people, whether it's 10 people, 20 people, 1,000, however many it is, when you see the fact that you've brought joy, and it's because there's two types of laughs in life. There's the laughs that we do in day-to-day life when someone says something, you're like, yeah. And then there's the involuntary, like you are literally making someone. And really, when you think other than kind of orgasms, there's nothing else in life that you can make someone do involuntarily. You can't make someone do something, but you can. And so, and there's no greater feeling when you look out a room full of people and they're all excreting this thing, which again, not only are they doing this, is it coming that you've done something, you've said something that has tickled them to the extent that they cannot help but do this, but then they're also breathless with it, and then also knowing the endorphins and the dopamine that this is releasing to them, and the fact that they're making, I mean, this is one of the things that I think has been so missing from people's lives these last 2 years, and why it's so depressing when governments put very little emphasis on the importance of laughter and comedy, along with many other things that are very vital towards mental and physical health. Yeah, and so to answer your question, the thing that keeps you going and the thing that makes you want to keep doing that over and over is, for the few times it goes well, you want to experience that again. It's like an addiction to seeing that happen. And then obviously over the years, the bad gigs get less and the good gigs get more. And then ideally, obviously, you end up in a scenario where there's very few bad ones and most of them are good gigs.
Absolutely. So it's about, and it's what is that you told me, I think, when we first met? Life is what happens when you're busy planning other things.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. I think that's someone. Yeah, maybe. Well, that was someone else's quote. I'm sure.
You were giving a quote on that, but it kind of stuck with me a little bit because, thinking about, we're making these plans all the time, and but being in the moment while you're making the plan, life's still happening at that time, and you're a great true testament of somebody that kept powering through. And one of the things, and I think anybody that knows you or anybody that has been lucky enough to be in your circle around you knows that is the positivity that you radiate to folks, the atmosphere that you create to anybody that you're booking in a show or starting in a show. But one of my favorite things about you, aside from everything else, is your community involvement. The way that you take causes and help so much and get behind them, and the way that you spread a joy with things, it's infectious, really, James. It really is.
Well, I could say the exact same thing to you, Mandy. And as you know, I mean, the majority of fundraisers that I've worked on have been side by side with you. So I can't thank you enough for all of those. I mean, all of those amazing things that you've done. I mean, I've lost count of the number of fundraisers we've worked on together. But you've never once, and I know no one is more busy than you. And any single time I've reached out to you about any show, whether it was anything from Red Cross to domestic violence fundraisers, whatever it was, you're always there, which is why I hope I've done the same. I hope I have the same system. I think it's one of those things. I was told this by Seinfeld's manager, that Seinfeld has this kind of list of of people for whom the agent doesn't need to come to him and check. If someone gets in touch and says, "Can you do this?" He has this goal list of people for whom it's like whatever they want. Any time it's a yes. Don't check with me. And basically, you are the person that's on my version of that list. Where it's like whatever Mandy needs, because you bring you bring so much to everyone, and I appreciate you.
It's right back at you. The love is mutual. You know that. Now let's talk about some of my favorite topics. Can we start with Brit Happens? So you have been writing a book your whole life, arguably, because you're a writer, you're a storyteller, you're an entertainer, you're a comedian, you're a father, you're a husband, you're so many things, a communitarian, a dog owner. So I wish that I was interviewing Nick Bernstein, James Corden's boss.
I loved that.
3 weeks ago, and they play a game on the Late Show. It's called Pet or Pillow, where you hold the pet just so that you can't see it below, and they have to guess if it's pet or pillow. So I'm going to say that that's a pet.
That's a bet. Although she does look like I'm aware that Willow does. Come here, Wells. She does look a bit like a stuffed animal. I mean, it's very. I was holding her in H&M a couple of months ago, and she wasn't moving, and then suddenly she moved her head, and the woman behind me jumped because she thought that I was holding something from. Anyway, yeah, Willow is our pride and joy. We have 3 boys in the house, and we have 3 girls: Pam, and Willow the dog, and Annalena the hamster. Okay, I'll let you go, Wells. She loves to. But sorry, yes.
What happened?
Yes, so I used lockdown wisely, so to speak. In that, I had a book deal with Goose Lane, who are Canada's oldest independent book publisher, proudly based in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
They published some of my favorite books, which I can see beside me, like Steve Patterson's first book. And really, the plan was here for me to write essentially a memoir and a series of stories. I wanted the memoir to less be about we need to cover all these beats and more about where are the funny bits, because I mean I'm a huge fan of like the writing of David Sedaris. So what I didn't want was to have any kind of filler chapters where it's like we have to include this because that happened. So as a result, my early years are covered in the first kind of 3 chapters, and by kind of chapter 4 we're already in Atlantic Canada. Essentially it's about my journey to Atlantic Canada, why I love Canada as a whole so much, and then of course a lot on how I became a Canadian. I mean, actually, we finished the editing last week, so it is actually
Let me see.
As of right now. So this is it's a mess. I have been. I mean, and it's because it's quite it's quite paranoia inducing. Coming up with
my God.
because you write it and then it goes off, and then it oh no, Willow's eating my lunch. No, Willow. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's very unprofessional.
The best.
So you write it, and of course it goes to the editor, then it goes to the publisher, and then it will get approved. But then when it comes back to you, suddenly you've kind of written everything, obviously from the heart, which is the way that you want it to be. But equally, it's that thing about, well, wow, should I be revealing that? Should I be sharing that? And of course, I mean, I've never been someone that shies away from opening up.
You haven't.
And, being honest about how I feel. So I think it's out on May the 10th. So I think come May, I'm going to be feeling quite paranoid and insecure about how much, because essentially I've opened up, anything that was in my diaries, everything. Yeah.
And that's what some of the folks were wondering. They're wondering. So this is kind of like a diary to you, because this is something that we all know you. We all know you're a big writer anyway. Look, you produced your own movie. There's nothing that you put your hands on that you haven't done, let alone made successful. So this book, everybody is dying for, because this is going to be a different side of you. Like, we get to see you vulnerable on stage. We get to see lots of different. We've been with you with some of these cool stories that you've opened up about, like learning all about your vasectomy, like learning all these things that you want to know about your best friend, things you need to know. And but are we going to see? I'm curious to see in the book. Are we going to get any more rawness? Are you going to give that to us?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, for example, there is a chapter called Vasectomy, which is essentially the story of my vasectomy, which, as you know, I've told in stand-up. And so that is an example of something which is in there because it's funny and I think and makes for.
It'd be weird if it was someone else's vasectomy.
Yes, it would be weird if
so
it
we're
was someone
happy it's
else's.
yours.
Yeah,
It would be weird. Yeah.
it's so I find so that is the neck. But yes, to answer your question, I would say that the one area Willow is desperately trying to jump out. The one thing that I think that I would probably say I've opened up most about, I mean, certainly about, insecurities and and I've talked about, being bullied as a kid and stuff before, but I
Yeah.
guess one of the things that I think I've been more open than I have been in the past about is about struggles that and no one wants to hear people complain or me complain, I mean, but struggles that I've had since coming here, because I often obviously talk about all of the positive things and the pleasant welcomes that I've had here and how kind people have been here, but also there are some things to be said actually about how hard it is to move here, and that's one of the things that I think I've opened up about when I've been criticized in the past, and yeah, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of, there's plenty of chapters in there. I mean, again, our good friend Lloyd Raven, who
Yes.
who we lost a few years ago. There's a lot about that and the way that affected. And I go, of course, I mean, it affected so many people. But all I can do in this is share my own experience, and so there's a lot in there about how that affected me. And indeed losing other friends in the same way, which in this industry unfortunately is extremely prevalent. So yeah, I would say there's a lot of. I hope the book is funny, but also I think there's a lot of vulnerability in there, and I've definitely talked about a lot of things in there that I've never talked about publicly before. So we will see if how it goes down, I guess.
So we're going to be we're peeling the onion back, and we're going to get to be able to see, and I think all of your fans can't wait for that. That's going to be really, really exciting. I know you're pressed for time. I think you got to go in a second. It's 1:50.
Thank you. Just get back to the homeschooling for the kids. I believe it or not, I can't trust the 8-year-old to log into Teams when he's supposed to see. Otherwise, it'll just be more what's it called? Roblox. That's it.
Well, listen, thank you so much, James. Always a pleasure when you come by the station supporting campus radio. We do appreciate that. Always a pleasure. And anybody that wants to book you, where can they go? And if they want to get any of your collaterals, there's too much to say in the time you have, any of your articles, anything, where can they get that?
That's very kind. My website's just jamesmullinger.com. There's a form, and my email's on there as well for virtual gig bookings. Virtual gig bookings still flying in. Hopefully, we'll be back to all in-person shows. I'm doing the Imperial Theatre in April, the Playhouse in Fredericton in May, including various other shows, Halifax, PEI, and I'm doing a book tour promoting the book. And yeah, it should all be on there. So go on there, sign up for a newsletter, and I'll keep people involved. But Mandy, sincerely, thank you for this. I mean, as you know, I love you anyway, but I love this show so much, and it's an honor to be back here.
Thank you so much, James. I'm going to hit stop recording 1 second. All right, everybody, you tuned in with Mandy-Lynn at Local 107.3 CFM8, your favorite only radio station here in St. Awesome, joined by the amazing, awesome James Mullinger. Thanks, James.
Thank you.